Stan Lee is one of the most iconic figures in pop culture, co-creating with his good friend Jack Kirby many favorite superheroes such as Spider-Man, X-Men, and Iron Man, and that's just to name a couple.
Jack Kirby developed most of the Marvel heroes with me.
Jack drew like a movie director. He couldn't draw anything dull.
Stan grew up poor, starting out his first job at Timely Comics, being an assistant, until one day he had the opportunity to do 2 pages. And from there, Stan would be on fire making comics. Later on, he started up Marvel Comics with a group of well-known comic authors and created the MMMS, Merry Marvel Marching Society.
You belong to the Merry Marvel March.
Okay, out there in Marvel Land, face front, this is Stan Lee speaking.
The Marvel bullpen is kind of what they would call the creation space. Stan and his friend Jack Kirby ended up making more than hundreds of characters in that office together. Stan didn't always want to do comics.
Creating comics was never part of my childhood dream. I never thought of that at all. Believe it or not, I wanted to be an actor. I remember my really first hero was Errol Flynn.
I upset your plan?
Not getting the chance though, he spearheaded Marvel to become a titan in the comic industry, and then eventually Marvel would become titans in the film industry as well. Stan finally getting his wish to act, doing cameos in any movies that he owned the characters to, starting out in 1989 with Jury Foreman in The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and then he didn't get another cameo until he played a hot dog vendor in the 2000 X-Men movie. And over the next 20 years, he'd have well over 100 cameos. Of course, when it became time to do a big budget Iron Man film, he needs to have his part. This is kind of where we begin Stan's adventure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Great,
He would sometimes play as another human he had a passing resemblance for, even being Larry King in Iron Man 2, or Hugh Hefner in Iron Man 1. Usually though, Stan would just be some random guy that has something unfortunate happen to him.
Did it work? Hey man, make love, not war. Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
That last one being the funniest role of the list. Other times he played someone important, but not really known by name, maybe such as like a general, or I guess a security guard. Sometimes he was just a FedEx driver.
Are you Tony Stank?
There's a time he was enjoying drinks with Thor and Captain.
Eggshell shield.
There were times when good old Stan ventured off into space, showing up on Xandar, being a hairstylist for Jeff Goldblum's fighting arena, and even chatting with the Watchers. You know that one time Stan took the winnings of Black Panther at a casino?
Hey, you won.
You know what? I think I'll just take these, bring them over here, and hold on for safekeeping.
And he will stop at nothing to make sure Mallrats is in every universe possible. Well, he did have a really good cameo in that movie.
It reminds me of an issue of Spider-Man I did when Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy went lingerie shopping. Of course, the Green Goblin showed up, and he pumpkin bombed the hell out of the place. But aside from that, it's pretty much the same thing.
Oh my God. Holy shit! Aren't you?
Oh, Stanley.
All in all though, he would have fun doing odd things or just chilling around as Spider-Man disturbs him in the neighborhood.
Don't make me come down there, you punk.
Hey, Gary! How you doing?
Marjorie, how are you? How's your mother?
His ability to not quite notice what's actually happening around him, or maybe there's a possibility he does know and kind of interacts accordingly to shift reality. This would bring us an early cameo from The Incredible Hulk, where Stan drinks some radioactive soda. Yes, the Hulk movie with Edward Norton. We don't know what happened to him, and with that, I kind of have a theory as to what Stan has been up to in the background as all these events keep taking place around him. So Stan drinks some fishy-looking soda, and the theory I have is that he gained the ability to travel through time, and kind of just time only. He would just be in the same spot when he traveled, but just a different date. We see him as he interacts subtly in every story that happened. You can't help but wonder, does this old man know every event that happens, and is he actively working to change the circumstances? Possibly to benefit him? I don't think the order in which the MCU actually takes place and his cameos is entirely the same as the one Stan, takes. I believe the start is the Hulk movie drinking the soda, and from there he realizes what powers he has attained and decides to time jump around and meet with every superhero he admired. I'm sure he was a huge Captain America fan, as most were. Why not go and see him first at the Avengers Tower and knock back a few with them? Stan would probably go in phases, first being himself, going to each superhero and interacting with each one, getting more and more creative as he goes along. Going from being a random person to impersonating celebrities. From there, he may have realized that he could manipulate events with just one sentence in select moments. Stan would then go around and tweak reality to fit the way he wanted. There was only one option for them because Stan was the one in actual control. Doctor Strange just couldn't see him for whatever reason, or he did and maybe was just being secretive about it. Like in Thor the Dark World, kind of just being an old man in the home, and when he dressed up to become a security guard to kind of allow Captain America to steal his original suit in Winter Soldier. He would also use his powers to maybe attain riches like in Black Panther, taking some winnings and such, probably in the early days of having his power. There would be some random moments he didn't mean to be a part of, but the universe may guide him a bit to these heroes as well. At one point, he worked on getting Mallrats to be canon in the MCU. Eventually, the Watchers kind of figured out Stan was time jumping and decided to have a conversation with him. Not finding out much, they leave him there alone, getting himself then to Xandar and meeting a pretty lady who wasn't quite a good girl maybe. Stan then ends up in Jeff Goldblum's care, losing most of his body, but he still has to give Thor a haircut. I have a feeling his time jumping lasted maybe about 10 years, but 10 years of pure fun being part of the most important moments in the MCU timeline. His legacy would not be known to the rest of the characters, but I believe that Stan was the most instrumental part in their success in defeating Thanos. Without him, that one option Doctor Strange saw may not exist. His passion and care for the characters he created with Jack Kirby lived on throughout his entire life, and made sure they lived true to what these two made them to be, making Stan the best superhero in the entire MCU and the best hero of all time.
I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.